Lauren.
All right, you're on.
Okay, yeah, so just set the room real quick. For those that can't make it, we're obviously recording this right now for you. But one of the key things at GammaEdge here that we use in addition to our gamma curve charts is the tick index. And we try to document that every night in the market status channel, which is, I don't know, 5 or 6 above the bronze voice right now. And with that, what we're using the tick for is that's a measure of real-time buying and selling within the markets. And so with that, we can track kind of the severity of any buying or selling that we do see on that specific day, as well as if buying or selling is trending day over day through the cumulative tick, all of this which is indexed in the market status. What James has been doing is he's taken the trade station tick index and the Toston tick index and has tried to convert this into a TradingView indicators for us. And so with that, I will pass it on to James of what specifically he's done.
Awesome. Well, welcome, guys. My name's James, and the first time I saw Paul's, I believe it's Paul's TradingView tick workspace. What I was saying before is that I'm a big tech guy, and I love digging into different tools. And I think we all have a million different tools, right? But very few of those tools speak to us in a way that we instantaneously understand what's going on. And when I saw the tick workspace, that instantly spoke to me. I think of a saying. We can't really see when a huge oil freighter on the water is starting to turn from the above or on the water, right? But if we're underneath the boat and we see that rudder start to shift left or right, we can get an instant inclination that the market might be moving in a direction. We can see that boat starting to turn. And that's what tick really did for me. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is how I can kind of get that heads up on the sentiment shift. So I do not code in TradingView, or I'm sorry, TradeStation. I've tried to learn their language a couple of times, and it's been frustrating each time. I learned in Think or Script, and then I moved to TradingView as a coder and a trader about a year and a half ago. And I just went neck deep in PineScript and have taught myself PineScript version 4 and version 5 now. And being that I don't use TradeStation each day, I naturally want to try to gravitate to all my tools over to TradingView. So I started digging through the TOS language and kind of what it was saying, and it seemed simple enough. So I went into it, and I came up with what I feel like is a good representation of cumulative tick in a visual representation of which I had never seen it displayed before. I'm a very visual guy. A little bit of background about me. I've been an artist for 22 years now, or 21 years. That was my career, is my career still. It's my other business. And so I'm a very visual person, right? You'll notice a lot of the charts that I share are very visually impactful. They are all color-coded to tell me exactly what's going on in the moment. And so the tools that I create are the same. And some people don't like that. Some people need a very clean, crisp chart, and I understand that. And I never try to push my stuff on anybody. But if it makes sense to you, then that's great, So what I'm going to go ahead and do is go ahead and share my screen here. And I've got, there we go. And if you guys know how to work the Discord screen share, I'm sure you do. If you're new in here, just on your left-hand side, there's going to be a bronze voice section. Go ahead and click my name. It'll have a live icon. You can click on that, and my screen will be available to watch. And this is the workspace I came up with. And I simply call it Tick Space, right? And it is all SPY, just very SPY-centric, because me being a intraday equity scalper, using options flow and gamma to guide my decisions, SPY is my index. SPY is my North Star. So I want to know what's going on with that at all times during the day. And I've created a workspace of which explains that to me in loud, colorful way, right? But it's a very specific way. There's two things that you're seeing on this workspace. One is the cumulative tick in the NYSE cumulative tick. And you're seeing, actually, let me restart. There's 4 different panels here, right? On the right, we've got my different ticks. On top is the NYSE, or New York Stock Exchange cumulative tick. Underneath, we've got a combined exchange tick that I did, which is actually NYSE, AMEX, and NASDAQ. And then on the bottom is just the US tick, just US dot tick, right? The equities, US equities, right? So it's a kind of my broad global scope. And then on the left, we've got our gamma levels that you can get here through the TradingView tab on your left through GammaEdge. And they're laid over my footprint chart, which has volume clusters on it. So it shows me where there is high instances of volume going off, and through the bottom of everything, volume moves markets, right? So I want to always know what the volume is doing in every time frame that I'm looking at. One thing that I was talking to one of the guys in the room about yesterday, I believe it was, or the day before, is that, I watch SPY on a 5 or a 15 minute. The reason I have this on a 4 grid panel is so that I can have ticked on smaller seconds time frames and get that granularity that we like to get out of it, so we can get that little bit of a heads up before SPY starts to shift here. So yeah, is everybody following along? All right.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So if you guys, if you grab the link or whatever to the study that I've shared, let's just start with NYSE, because I think that's the one that most people use. It's probably one of the more popular ones, right? And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to load a new chart layout real quick, and we're going to just pull up. I'm going to remove everything on it, right? And let's just go to.
Hey James, I'm gonna stop you real quick, Paul. While James is getting this set up, would you mind just telling everyone exactly what the tick is and why we care about it?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the tick, in its most simple sense, is a indicator that's published by the exchanges, and every transaction that occurs results in either an uptick, which means the price was going towards the ask, or a downtick and the price was going towards the bid. And we can take that information and say the equity or whatever was being bought at a certain time as it goes up, that's the uptick, or it was being sold as it goes to the bid. The reason that's really, really important, it's not size dependent. And so a transaction of 1 million shares and a transaction of 1 share get the same weight. Now, when you present many of those all at once on the exchanges, meaning when the exchanges get really busy, the tick count goes up or it goes down. And that's the whole basis of watching on a per bar basis, and you can define the length of the bars. Our default is 1 minute, or excuse me, 1 minute bars. And the key here to take away is that by watching that, you get a sense of instantaneously what is the market sentiment. And from that, I'll turn it back over to James, and he can take you on the journey.
Awesome. So if you just punch in cumulative tick in the search bar in TradingView, this is what you're going to see, right? And just like Paul talked about, it is a record of every uptick and downtick. Right now we're on a 15-minute time frame on this. If I go to a 1 minute time frame, it's a little cleaner, but it's still very, very noisy, very hard to read, right? So that is why I've never really messed with it, to be totally honest with you. I've always seen it. I've seen other indicators on it, and they never really spoke to me like I was talking about in the beginning until I saw Paul's TradeStation workspace, and it immediately made sense to me. And that's when I started going, okay, I need to dig into this, and spent a few days, and I came up with this workspace. So from this, we have now transformed that into this. So we'll start with nicey because it's kind of what everybody looks at, right? And if we go out to just a 1 minute time frame on cumulative tick, you can see how price kind of fluctuates up and down. Now, this is the reset at the start of the day, and I've accompanied it with a moving average ribbon. Now, I'm not a huge moving average guy. If you guys have seen me post in Room, I'm a very VWAP focused trader, but in certain instances, especially sentiment type ideas or flow, if you will, I like to use moving average ribbons specifically for the reason of just, am I on front side? Am I on back side? Are we positive or are we negative? That's all I want to know. I'm not putting any weight on any one, average more than the other. As you look at this, you're going to see these crazy little green dots and red dots going up and down from it, right? The yellow and orange line is the center or the core of the tick, or what we would show as the body on the candles over here, right? The multiples that you see shooting up and shooting down are what we would see as the wicks over here on the candles, right? And all I've done is just plotted those a different way. They don't mean anything different. It's nothing else crazy. It's just plotted a different way, again, to be more visually impactful. And I've got it running on a 0 line. Now, in the study itself, if we double click the settings, you're going to be able to see a 0 line if you want, or you can take it off. If we click that to take it off, now that line that was right there is gone. And all the 0 line is showing you is tick as a whole in a positive state, or is tick as a whole in a negative state, right? So what we could garner from this, starting the day off on SPY over here, let's go back to the full length and then go like this. As we started the day off on SPY, it looks like, per this tick indicator, that we started off right there on 0 and we kind of trended down into a negative state. And that reflects in the price action throughout the day, right? But as we come down towards the middle of the day and we got that reversal in SPY on Friday, we see, price start to move back up, and we can get an inkling of when that might really be starting to happen over here with the moving average ribbons. Now, these are just a 10 through like 90 and then a 200 on mine. And you can see the tick comes down to the 200, and all that's looking at is 200 bars back or 200 instances back. And then averaging, we can see that we held that and we were in a negative tick below the 0 line. And then we started to move back up and over the moving average ribbons, right? Now, this is a 1 minute. I like to go down to a 15-second. We have the ability to do that on TradingView and get even more granularity. Now, I am not trading a 15-second chart, right? I used to, and Michael H. used to give me a really hard time about that. But we're simply looking for that really granular, that X-ray vision on price action to see, okay, when are we really flipping? And we use our larger structure. These are ATR volume footprints, but we use our larger structure to then guide us in when it's going to be safe to enter. But tick shows us ahead of time. It gives us a trigger. Hey, things might be shifting. They might be turning the rudder of the boat. And we can't really see it on the top yet, but we can see it with that little bit of an X-ray vision with tick. We see it move up and over the averages. And as that starts to happen, what do we see start to happen with the volume flow? Well, the volume flow underneath starts to shift color back towards a more positive nature, right? And as we get up and over the moving average ribbon here, and we start firing positive tick multiples up and over core tick line, that is at 14. Let's see here. Let's mark it with a vertical line. Let's make sure my drawings are synced across. So if you sync your drawings across all, your cursor and your line, you can do drawings on tick, and that'll show you where it is on your candles. So our drawings are synced, and we look look for that reclaim of the core tick line, the yellow and orange right there, and then maybe a higher low above that. And we can even mark like the lowest low right there. Now let's see how that lines up with intraday price action. That shows us, now this is in the last leg of it, right? If we zoom all the way out, I forgot I clicked out on a 15-second there. So actually, let's start that example over. Sorry, I kind of screwed that up because I didn't realize I went out on a 15-second time frame there. So there we go. This is midday. As we start to come up and over the average ribbons from negative, right? We're underneath all the ribbons over here. And then we start to really reclaim the average ribbon right here at around 1234. Make sure I'm on my drawing right there. And let's show the lowest low. Let's just circle that with a marker real quick. So we'll show the lowest low, right? Oops, got my magnet on, sorry. Lowest low is right there. So as we're watching in real time, we see it making lows, right? We're watching the candles. We know the price is dropping. And I usually watch it on about this scale right here. So I can actually see the tick multiples moving through the average ribbon. And as we start to move up and over and we reclaim right here, that's when I'm saying, okay, we're starting to shift positive again. I want to see if we get up and over this major average right here. And if we hold that, let's go back and see what we do on price action. If I turn this volume footprint off right here for just a second, you'll see those markers. And look where our markers are. They're pretty much at low of day. And now, you know, there's a million different things that you can use to spot that, but that's kind of how I'm using it, is to see like, okay, tick all day and NYSE has been negative. We're finally starting to shift in tick. It's starting to move up and over the average ribbon, and we're starting to move back towards a more positive nature, but we're not positive yet because we're still under the zero line. So anything under the zero line as we moved up and over the ribbon is going to be good direction, but it's still going to be pressured, right? We're still going to have selling pressure. We're still in a negative tick environment. So it's kind of an in and out type scenario for me, or at least that's how I look at it. And as we move up and over positive, that's when things really get going, and we see trend really start to build towards the end of the day, you know. And as we move over zero line here, that's about, let's see here. That's right here when we finally held it, and that was that last push into close, basically.
And that,
so that
is that zero line from Ryan's morning analysis?
The zero line is just zeroed out on the values that are being given from tick.
Okay, I got it. All right.
Yeah. So now let me be very, very clear too to everybody. This is not a direct replica of what is made in TOS or what is made in TradeStation. This is my own rendition of it. So there's going to be different, you know, there's going to be subtleties, and there's probably going to be values that might be a little bit different. So for anybody that is using it or wants to use it, just know that you know, I made it kind of on my own, you know, after looking through the other stuff. And so I'm always open to, you know, constructive criticism or constructive critiques on how I can make it better. So yeah, up here on the top right, we've got basically the volume so far on the day, what the tick value is, what sentiment is currently telling you, whether bearish or bullish, and then your time frames volume tick flow. So basically what your volume flow is on the bottom, uptick, downtick, and incoming volume for the time frame that you're on, right? So that's just NYSE. I made that and it was really nice. And then I was like, well, maybe I want a global view. And so, or more macro view. Well, what are all the major exchanges doing? So I made a combined exchange tick, and that's NYSE, Amex, and NASDAQ. And that is very similar, right? Same thing, but we're going to see a little slower moving and a little, let's do this. Let's kind of zoom them out. And they look really similar, but you're going to see a little more granularity with NYSE, a little bit more more shifts up and down, you know, a little choppier. This one runs a little bit smoother, and scale wise, I usually look at it on something. Let me move this around here real quick. This is usually kind of my view with it, where I can see pretty granular. And then down on the bottom, we've got the US exchange, and that is very macro, right? So it's going to be, imagine a 200 moving average where you've just got a big sloping average kind of, you know, and you see just a very big macro view. And when this thing shifts, man, I really pay attention to when this thing shifts, because that means, you know, that from my understanding, the U.S. equities in and of itself in a cumulative nature are starting to shift to a more negative tone. And Paul, correct me if I'm wrong there, but that's my understanding of it. So the last thing too, when I set up the workspace that I shared, I have SPY set as a background line, so you can always know if you have it zoomed in or you're just looking at tick, you know exactly what price is doing. It's as a background line, so you know, I mean, you're going to know anyways with what tick is doing, but you'll see it as well as a background line. And the last thing to go over is the background coloring. In settings, you'll be able to show the background coloring or not. And it says fill background with tick sentiment. And what I was thinking is kind of like a relative volume alert was my idea there. And it's, I want to know when tick has large instances, whether it's to the positive side or the negative side. And like Paul was saying earlier, you can have, you know, an exchange go and a buy or sell go off that's 1,000 shares or 1,000,000 shares. They're equally weighted as a tick, right? But I want to know when there's a big lot of ticks going off, 1,000 or more, right? So I made an alert as a background color signal that gets progressively brighter or darker for alerts over 499 and over 999. So the brighter tones that we see are basically tick values over 1,000 going off, whether bullish, bearish, and the darker ones are over 499 or 500 going off, whether bullish or bearish. So that can kind of give you an idea, is the market participating in this, is my thought pattern behind it. Not just, is this a random fluke, are we just going up? Is there some serious size behind this? And is the market rallying with this rally? You know? And that works on both sides, you know. We don't really have a ton of negative instances right here. We've got a little bit right here, but it's kind of hard to see. Let me do something real quick, and I'll be able to kind of show that a little easier here. While I adjust this, any questions so far, or anybody? No.
You've had you've had a couple questions come in. I was going to say you've had a couple questions come in.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yeah, let me see if I can get them up here again. So there was a question, do all three tick tools, are they the same code but a larger data set?
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty much, in TradingView, we can call in that data, you know what I mean? From like USI tick or tick.usi or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the code, I can pull it. And that just pulls it. So I just went and pulled different ones, played with 1,000,000 different ones, and saw how they plotted. And okay, do I like that? Does it give me an instance of what's going on here? Like, do I understand it? And I chose the ones that I thought were most pertinent to me as a intraday smaller time frame scalper, and what I thought most other people would use.
Sure.
So there's the background coloring turned up transparency wise, and you can kind of see how those correspond with the big projections, the big wicks basically of the tick multiples. And as it gets much brighter, you see the multiples really firing off. So just imagine kind of like a long wick on the top of something. So now I wouldn't normally run it that bright. For me, I already have very loud charts, so I need stuff as calm but loud at the same time as possible. So those are events that are large tick events, positive or negative, and you can see at the end of the day, we break under what would be the body of the tick candle, basically like the raw tick, and we start to fire lower and lower. And what do we do right here? We start to make successive lower highs versus your center line, which is the raw tick, right? We go down, we retest, and we fail. We go down, we retest, get over a little bit and fail, retest, fail. So I'm looking at these structure-wise the same exact way I would translate candlesticks, right? Are we extending up? Are we flagging out? Because to me, price action and structure is fractal, whether on the tick level or on a daily level. We're in an auction down to the millisecond, right? And auctions function in the same way across all time frames, just different size buyers and sellers, in my eyes. And so I look for those same structural market patterns, whether it be across tick, across candlesticks, or across bookmap. And I try to find those things that I understand how to interact with. And that's why I kind of displayed it this way. It's because it's something outside of just normal candlesticks that I kind of understand. And that is kind of the inspiration behind the volume. Over here is that bookmap idea where I can quickly visualize large volume clusters and understand, okay, we've got a lot of participation down here. I might look for a movement up and out of there. So, that's it. I mean, that's pretty much the rundown on it. My one advice, and this is coming off of the back of Paul's advice, because at first I was thinking, oh, well, what if I could see this on the daily or the 15-minute? And he was saying that the whole purpose of tick is to be granular with it. So, he uses it on a 1 minute time frame or less, so I went, okay, cool. Paul says it. That's good. I'll go with that. So I started looking at it on a minute, on a 30-second, on a 15-second. And I mean, you can get down to 1 second on TradingView, but that's a little, A, it's hard on your machine, and B, it's a little hard to keep up with. So I think everybody has to understand what time frame trader you are. For me, I am an intraday, small time frame scalper. I'm in and out of trades in minutes sometimes. Using gamma levels as my guide and VWAP. And some of you guys, a lot of you guys are swing options traders. So you probably just want a larger, bigger picture, so I think understand what time frame you trade and how this will best suit you, and then go at it from there. So
a question about time frame. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so, and to what you just said, my sort of default time frame where I live is either 15 minutes or 65 minutes. We usually swing maybe a little intraday, but sort of like a few hour, kind of time. And so, and Paul has mentioned that it works best on the minute. I've never really played with it on a 15-minute time frame or larger. Can you talk a little bit about how that looks, or have you played with it at all? Part two of that is going back to the whole volume tick thing. I was wondering if anybody has looked at this with Trin or some other measure that looks at volume, in conjunction with this.
How funny that you say that. I did actually just I just started messing around with Trend the other night with the same idea and the same formula. The visual display of it was not as cool as this one, so it didn't really give me what I wanted. But I did start messing around with that, and nothing that would be even showable yet. It's just raw code, and I'm saving and testing and saving and testing and going back and forth right now with it. I did this one, and then instantly the inquisitive nature of myself, I was like, okay, what else can I put into this idea? And I don't want to put 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag, but I want to try to get some, some more kind of underlying sentiment stuff going. I'm looking at different market internals, indicators that people use, and how can I combine those to get a very, a simple yet effective sentiment guide / workspace. I have messed with this on larger time frames, and albeit Paul did say to use on small time frames because we are looking at granularity here. But I do like if you guys are watching the screen share right now, I mean, you put this thing on a 5-minute. Oh, let me readjust my scale. I'm sorry. Oh, no, I am right. Okay, so you got to spin it out a little bit and then drag it down. And then kind of open up your. So I really encourage you guys, if you guys do use this, expand it. Don't just let it sit kind of compressed on there. The nature of the scale, because of the averages and how things plot on here, it wants to compress. But if you unclick auto fits data to screen and scale price chart only, you'll have a little bit more workable tool. You can scroll it, drag it down and open it up then to where you'll have, that granularity with it and that kind of display that it gives on the smaller time frames. Because the larger time frames, obviously, they're going to want to be just more compressed and a little more less granular, But I mean, this is it on a 5-minute. And I think, it offers a huge. I don't want to say I could trade off this, but I could almost trade off this. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, we see it's moving down, making lower lows. We finally put in like kind of a blow off low right there on the 5-minute. You really see that core, that orange and yellow, your center core tick line. You see that really push down here. We go up, we flag a little bit, and we put in a higher low right here. Yeah, that's just general price structure. So I really do think it's how you interpret it, what time frame you're used to trading, and how you want to best utilize it. I haven't seen anything displayed in this fashion before, and being that we are using the granularity of tick, I would still think that it offers some value at larger time frames, albeit not as granular and not as much value as it possibly could on a 1-minute or less.
Yeah, let me add a couple thoughts there. So,
of course,
with every indicator, it's useful to know the limitations, right? And so, absolutely, James, you're spot on. We have the ability to get granular, and as Doc is intimating, he's got a longer time frame. It doesn't mean that you can't use the granular nature of the cumulative tick in context of longer time frames, especially for entries or exits or timing. The problem, obviously, that we all see with all indicators is that you can get whipsawed out if you're too granular, right? You just don't know what to do. So there is an advantage, of course, of going to a longer bar length. And this is the takeaway. You're averaging. So within the instantaneous battles that are going on, as James said, the millisecond battles that are going on, we're going to roll that up to a second or a minute or 5 minutes or 15 minutes. And that bar is the battleground, right? So if you're looking for longer entries and exits, you're probably looking at the chart right now, coming off that bottom. If you're going to start aggregating 5-minute into 15 minutes, you're not going to get the low, or you're not going to get necessarily the best entry, because your battleground is averaged across a longer time frame. That's the risk. Now, the good thing is that if you take that entry on that confirmation, chances are you're going to hold it until the signal changes again. What happens, and I'll leave with this thought, what happens when you use the tick on longer time frames, and I've done this for a long time, is that you actually miss the lows or you miss the highs, and you get more of an average type of behavior. It doesn't invalidate going to a longer time frame, but it could potentially, if you're going to do an intraday on a longer time frame tick, you may just be averaging your results. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that, I'm a bookmap trader, and I've struggled with how zoomed in to be on Bookmap for well, I don't not as much anymore, but when I first used it, I wanted to get down to that millisecond single bubble view, and like, oh, I'm gonna get the bottom tick, and eventually you find a happy medium, and now like anything, I've found kind of my time slice window on Bookmap that I like to use, and it's the same thing I would imagine with this. Granted, I'm going to be full transparency here. I'm new with Tick. I just started really implementing it after joining this room and after seeing the workspaces, so that I'm still, I'm very much a student with it. You ask me a VWAP question, and I can give you pretty much any answer, right? But with this, I'm still very much a student. What I wanted, though, when I came up with this set of tools, I'm tired of lines. Everything has lines. Everything is the same on every chart. And it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't differentiate enough or speak to me in a way where I can gain the sentiment that I want from it, because I don't have that visual representation. I'm a very visual learner. And so I've set my charts up to be like that. And I just came up with this kind of really like at 1 o'clock in the morning, late one night, messing around with plot shapes, going, oh, that looks cool. I like that. Let's run with that, and then building it out from there. So,
well, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I think for the visual people that are here, I think this is going to really help you once you learn it and learn its nuances. I think it's going to be perfect. So thank you very, very much for taking the time to do this.
Paul, this is Mahesh here. Hey, Jeff, one quick question to you. Have you correlated the tick and the gamma levels that we have? I think there may be a correlation if you look at where you have the lows. I think, have you tried that anytime? Okay, there you are.
I haven't yet. No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, nothing. I haven't done much like logging with it, no spreadsheeting with it yet. I've made the tool and I've just been testing it and using it. And if other people were interested, let them use it. I used it enough before I let it out that I was confident that it was representing tick in a proper way, in a proper manner, but I have not done any type of like tracking with correlation between the gamma levels and tick itself. I mean, just visually, obviously, yeah. Let's see here. As we cross back over, so right here, let's look at my gamma levels are going to look very similar, but a little bit different. I went and kind of changed my labels just so they would work with my scripts a little bit better. So my labels are over here to the right. As we look at SPY coming into close on Friday, we crossed up and over minus GEX here at 450. And you can see, I boxed that out right there as we cross over. Actually, let me put my footprint back on so you can actually see it. Sorry. There we go. So we cross up and over minus GEX here at 450. And where I put the box, we start to extend out of that. If we look at it on tick, oops, I just messed the scaling up. Shoot. There we go. If we look at it on tick, where I put that box over here, you see us moving positive over the moving average ribbon right there at the same spot. So yeah, it would be interesting to kind of go back and find some correlations and start to track those. So
the one thing I'll add to that is, I don't know if correlation is necessarily the appropriate term to be using. I think more what we want to see is, okay, we have our gamma level, we get a move off of it. Now, is tick supporting that move? Meaning, is there buyers actually coming into the market and driving it higher, or is it just a kind of an unimportant bounce more?
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. With that, I'll share a note that so every Sunday I do my week recap and all that stuff. And I shared a note earlier with the room I moderate, and it's a note to myself, and it's just it piggybacks on exactly what you just said, and it goes while I was studying let's see here. While I was studying large passive orders on the bid or offer, I realized large passive orders on the bid or offer do not necessarily show intention. Oops, here we go. I'll just put it right there. Whether, better yet, it's a relationship of the aggressor and volume at the passive order, and what price does after that creates your context. So I was talking about just this section where I had seen, aggressive sellers coming down into a bid, and aggressive sellers meet that passive bid and they cannot break it down. And then eventually aggressive buyers come in and take price up and away in that auction. And that's what's important. It's what happened after, because buyers came in and supported it. So are we at, whatever plus gex or zero gex or whatever you want, whatever level, and tick is going positive. Now, after we come off that level, are buyers coming in right there and supporting that move like Taylor just said? Was that Taylor that just spoke?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think that's the big important thing. It's the context that you gain from it after or in the moment right there that makes this such a powerful tool. Like you've already got your thesis on the day on what you think should happen. Now you just need sentiment to confirm that. And so we're looking for those confirmations in tick. I mean, we're all getting into a trade with a plan set forth, knowing our risk, knowing what we want to happen. Now is tick coming in and showing us visually the steps that we need to confirm that on the micro time frame, and then we can take our macro time frame trade.
Mm-hmm.
So
getting back to that question of confluence or confirmation, our theory with Gamma is that market makers should come in to support or push a move at a certain level because of their reflexive trading, and also there's kind of certain times of day that we would expect that to happen more than others. And so since I guess that's an important piece to that, we should get the confirmation almost to confirm our theory, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. When I'm using Bookmap, this workspace together, and I've got my levels, I have my levels marked. I know exactly where I want to see participation. And then in Bookmap, I'm looking for that bid to build. I'm looking for aggressive sellers to come down into it, try to take it out, just like I was just showing. I'm looking for buyers aggressively to start to come in and defend that passive bid that's there and come in and take price up and away from it. So after I have those confirmations as it's happening, I'm seeing, we are visibly upticking right here. This is confirming we are going positive, even if we're still in a negative environment, which in this section right here we're not, but I see buyers coming in right there. My thesis is correct. Let's put risk on. So
can you describe that the text box that you have in the upper right hand corner right by your cursor?
Yeah, of course. So really simple. Volume so far today on the ticker that you have listed. I keep this pretty much just on SPY, like I said earlier. My SPY is my North Star. The tick value, so that is literally the number of ticks right there, right? Your vol tick flow, so how many ticks in a 5-second flow, right? Volume-wise. And are we bullish or bearish right now? And bullish or bearish is determined by the moving averages and ticks relation to the zero line.
So that's a 5 minute, right? Not 5 second.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, 5 minute. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
And what determines bullish or bearish?
Its relationship to the ribbon and the center tick line.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, guys. And and listen, I would, we don't have to, obviously don't have to do it now. We've got everybody here, but Paul or Taylor, I would love to sit down one day and comb through the code with you guys because, like I said, transparency, I'm new with tick. So I would, if there's something I could do to calculate better or maybe, you see something that I did calculation-wise, or maybe I could call in something else that you feel like would be better for it, I'd be totally open to that as well. From what I've been looking at, everything I've seen from it has been pretty spot on, but I'm always down to refine or, make it better. So
sure, no, happy to sit down with you and talk more in detail. I think in general what you've got here is, like I said, is remarkable. It's extremely visual, powerful. I think it can certainly help when combined with other things that we see going on.
awesome.
I think what Mahesh said, about correlating with, potentially coming off of certain levels, also, especially with what you've got on the left pane there, and being able to mark those bounces or those support and resistance levels, and then seeing where you are in the tick. We've seen that. We see it all the time, actually, in the tick. So I think you're absolutely on the right path, and I want to thank you for, first of all, by putting this and making it available to us, but two, spending the time to go through. I think TradingView, TradingView is a phenomenal platform, and for those who are not using it, I think this can become another tool, if you are using it, that'll just help improve your visualization of what's going on.
100%. Yeah, I moved. I mean, I still use TOS. I have TOS open in another window here. I use TOS, TradingView, and Bookmap. But TradingView, just the visuals of it, man, that's what got me. And the fluid, the intuitiveness of the platform speaks to me a lot. It's just very easy to use once you understand the flow of it. And my mentor has been in talks with the creators of TradingView, and he's got kind of a list of things going with them that we could possibly work on to better the platform. They are, as a company, very, very user-centric. They want to do everything in their power to try to make this a better platform for traders, more intuitive, more tools, more powerful. So I really love the platform, and the language is amazing. There's tons of stuff you can do with it. Now there are its little quirks, and there are some things that are still a pain language-wise, but it's like that with every coding language.
Sure.
So.
Hey Jeff, one of these days I'm going to call you to see how we can blend the gamma levels and your script together, to see how we can overlay each of them and have one integrated.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love to. As soon as I saw the gamma levels tool when I first joined the room, I was like, oh, this is awesome, And of course, I'm a tinkerer, so I had to get in there and mess with it and make it my own. And, I love the script though. I love it. It's so helpful to not have to draw those things down, to just pull that list every morning. And Paul, that rounds me to the question that I posed earlier in the week about the open interest profile.
Yep.
I really, really think that that's something that could be easily done in here.
Yeah.
Is build something out like you guys have in that dash, where we've got a visual representation with, in some type of whether it be a volume profile or a heat map or anything like that. Let me show you real quick. Turn off some other stuff. Let's see. Let's turn this off. Let's turn that off. Let's turn that off. So this is a heat map that I made specifically for myself. It shows the highest volume VWAPs in a user-defined given time length. And I was thinking we could do something that would be either similar to this, or profile-esque, but not as rigid and hard as a profile. Something that's subliminally in the background, and you know that it's there, but those big levels are what's important, right?
Yeah. And the answer is yes. We can export and make available, and then you can import and display. So
cool, awesome. Yeah. We'll talk more about that, but yeah. just so you kind of like visually you thought, you got an idea of what I was talking about. Either that or, just our traditional, I think I might have it on here. No, if it's delta. There we go. Yeah, just traditional profile like that. You could do something like that. This one is someone else laid the groundwork for the beginning of it, but this is a profile that I then took and made it my own. And this is actually yesterday's profile laying over today's price. So it just makes life easier. So you can see, oops, no, I don't want to exit that. So you can see, where your resistance is basically,
Sure.
So anyways, yeah, we'll talk more on that.
Yep.
Yeah. So cool. Well, this has been awesome, guys. Thank you guys for letting me share.
Jeff, I'm sorry I was calling you. I'm calling you Jeff instead of James. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I knew who you were talking to. That is all good.
Question, James? Can you hear me?
Of course, yeah.
By the way, thanks for adding the option on the table to move it left, right, bottom, center.
Oh yeah.
It was me that we were speaking. I think it was midnight the other day, earlier this week. Thanks for staying up so late. Anyways,
I'm always up late. No worries.
Okay. Just the values in the status line. That's each value is one time frame, like 1 minute or 1 15-second. That's the count of ticks.
Yeah, that's the tick flow for the moment right now. Yeah.
Well, right now you have it hidden on your chart. But if you go to your settings, style, values, and status line.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay, yours is hidden.
Yeah, no, it's not. Oh, it's because I have no overlapping labels on. Is that what you're talking about? I haven't looked at what they've done with that. That's a new addition that they did in the style menu, and I haven't even messed with that yet. I don't style and values and status line. That's what you're talking about down here, right?
Yes. Because if you tick it, there's a whole series of values that disappear on top. They seem to be values like no, they're values. They're like
right here too, right?
Right now they're hidden. They're not on your screen.
Oh, really? I thought you were talking about
on the left. Sorry. CV tick, and you have the little. Well, now it's hidden. The little I and stuff. You would have a whole row of numbers of values going across.
Are you talking about your data window?
No, on your chart window.
Yeah.
Hey, it may be easier too if you can post a screenshot so we can see exactly what you're looking at too.
Sure enough.
Yeah, so I'm on the. Yeah, sorry, I'm just not sure what you're talking about. I'm on the.
All right, not a problem.
Yeah, let me see what you're talking about, and then I can tell you.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll take a screenshot right away.
Yeah, just post it to the garbage disposal, then we can look at it.
Sure, not a problem. Doing it right away. Excuse me. Okay, okie dokie. Garbage disposal. Where are we there? Garbage disposal.
So it should be at the very top of bronze there.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
There, just posted it?
Yeah.
Those,
I'm in the wrong room. Jeez. There we go. Okay, let me blow this up real quick.
Because I'm trying to replicate it on my TradingView as you were speaking and stuff and listening.
Oh, that's your indicator status. Okay, I know what you're talking about. So right here, CV tick, right? You go into your settings. Or I'm sorry. No, it's just being your general chart settings. So these are just preference settings on your how you display your indicators. So go to settings, right-click your chart settings, and then status line. And then I just display the ticker, and then I turn all the other values off.
But the value, the question was, the value represents the number of ticks in the time frame. So if you're on a 1 minute, that value represents the number of downticks in that.
Oh, yeah. That represents the number of ticks in the plot that it's showing. Yes.
Okay, so you can. Okay.
You have so many plots in it, bud. Like trying to reference off of that without.
No, it just clutters up the screen.
Yeah. So take it off. Yeah, go to your status line in your chart settings, and then just uncheck indicator arguments, indicator values, and turn your transparency on your background off. And it should just say CB tick.
CB tick chart settings. All right. Thank you very much.
It'll be in your main chart settings. So just right click your chart and then go down to settings.
Settings.
And then status line.
Ticker.
Yep. And then down below where it says indicator arguments and indicator values, uncheck those. And it should disappear.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem, man. Sorry, I thought we were talking about the axis there.
No, but it's okay. I put the screenshot.
Cool. Yeah, and for anybody that wants to get very granular with it or track tick values and what price does when it hits a certain tick value, et cetera, your data window can be a big resource for that. It can give you, can show you very clearly, because your right axis gets very cluttered sometimes. I usually have these labels turned off, to be totally honest with you, or no overlapping labels, so it combines like that. But your data window can be a big, area of help there if you want to collect values or you're tracking data on it, et cetera. So.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
Okay. Yeah.
This has been wonderful.